Hi, I'm James. I run a tech consultancy called Parallax, and I'm joined by Josh this morning.
Hello, I'm Josh. I'm CTO at Genio and software consultant.
We're going to be talking about from POC to production. How do we take an app that is prototypical at best and turn that into a real living, breathing thing? So, yeah, the reason I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this is because I'm seeing a lot more clients sort of vibe coding their way through a problem, which is kind of good in that they're starting to figure out what could be interesting for their customers. They're showing it to people, they're getting feedback. That's all good stuff. But I guess the danger is it kind of looks 80% done when really it's probably less than 10% done.
Yeah.
And the gap to get it from where they've got it to actually into a real working production ready app that works across yeah lots of devices, it's going to be tricky. So I don't know if you had much experience with that at Genio, or is that happening in your world as well? Or?
Yeah, I mean it's amazing, right? So I think the fact that you can now the barrier to entry now for coding up some things to have a new language to communicate how you think something should work, it's not just a spec or a brief anymore. It's the ability for you to create something that feels real, you can interact with it. I think it's a really powerful communication tool for teams, but you're right. It also sort of undermines a little bit the level of like energy and skill that goes into crafting like a production ready app. And I think that's the challenge, isn't it? It's like, how do you communicate what that gap really is without you feeling like you're fleecing someone and being like, yeah, that's cute, but it's not right. And we've used it a lot. We've used a lot like vibe coding and a lot of these sort of prototyping tools just as a way to experiment with ideas, and maybe some of them make it out, maybe some of them don't. We've had the UX like design team using it really heavily. The PMs are using it, and the engineers are sort of working on how that translates into production code. So I'm really enjoying it, actually. I think it sort of builds a new level of respect, I think, for people who are trying to create these things from scratch.
Yeah, definitely. I think it kind of a really exciting time because everything's getting a little bit easier. It's people that don't know a lot can now start to make their own personal tools for themselves. They can start to communicate ideas that would have been difficult with them just sketching or working in Figma. I think it's kind of like that when you get your first tech role and you don't know what you don't know. So you just naively like typing and shipping, and you don't know anything about database migrations or backups or anything, and you're just like, this is lovely. So I can just make stuff and stick it on the internet, which is fine. It's until you have to, until you actually
Yeah.
real paying customers with PII and like, yeah. And then the shit hits the fan basically. And what we're seeing a lot at the moment is like AIs, like some AI tooling, like really likes to recommend tools like Superbase and stuff. And it's quite hard for humans to understand row level security, let alone AI. And it'll
Yeah.
do it in the way where, you've got a sign up box and you can have a quick look at the requests in the browser and instantly see all the other registrations that have come through. And it's just
Mm.
absolute security fails. So, like, how do we sort of gently take people's vibe to some sort of viable thing?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was chatting to someone last week actually, and they were talking about how they'd built this app. They'd spent like quite a few weeks sort of honing this app into shape and into doing what they wanted it to do. And then overnight, one of the sort of agents that was working on this app accidentally sort of hosed it. And this person was chatting to me, and they're like, "I just really need a way to like." I almost want like versions of things, and I wish I could go back to the version I had. I was like, well, fully enough, this is a tried and tested approach to software, and you almost need the sort of like, here's a primer of a lot of things that we've learned over the years, and this is like the way, like, and I guess some of these systems should enforce these ways of working from the start, right? Like, oh, you should probably be versioning things, and you can roll back and all that sort of stuff.
I think from that point of view, it's quite good because I guess non-technical people are now learning a little bit more about what it means to do difficult technical work, and
Mm.
version control's sort of like 101, isn't it? Like your very first, I remember when I first started using Subversion before Git existed, and it was an absolute game changer to me rather than having a zip file with the date or version 2 in it.
Yeah, I wasn't just dragging onto FTP like, here's trunk. What the fuck is trunk?
Yeah. I mean, we still couldn't do branches or any kind of sensible merge strategy, but um, yeah, you could, in theory, have multiple developers working together on a thing. And then,
It's funny though, isn't it? It's like, you've got to really appreciate how far we've come with stuff like version, like Git, for example. People are like, what? You can just make a branch really quick. Like, I remember when it used to, like, a Subversion copy was like copy the entire tree of the repo. You sort of wait for that to happen. The tooling that, we have at our fingertips now is just unbelievable
yeah,
in comparison.
no, it's really good. But I think we often forget because we've spent the last 20 odd years learning it all. That those very first days using Git was super painful for me.
Mm.
I remember was it Peep Code? They did like a little
Yeah, Peep Code was great.
video tutorials on Git. And I was like, this is so weird and different from Subversion, which I've been using with some horrible Windows GUI. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't get this at all. This doesn't make any sense. And then it, until it does, and then it just clicks and you're like, you can't imagine working any other way.
yeah, exactly. And I wonder how, like, the beauty of like vibe coding stuff is you just sort of go wherever it takes you, and you sort of keep prompting and creating this thing. But I think the challenge is also that you're missing out some of those key steps, and I wonder how we can boilerplate like better standards into. Yeah, I guess it's just down to the quality of prompting, but also like, when you say I want to make a new coding project for the sort of environment, to understand that you care about version control and security, and maybe there's some things that you want to be more explicitly called out during that vibe coding session.
Yeah. I think, I think this is going to cause a bit of a Cambrian explosion of app ideas, and the good ones will hopefully succeed. But I think we're going to need more developers to try and help these ideas along.
Mm.
We need more experience in good DevSecOps, as they call it now. And I think I do think that although there might be, there's I remember one podcast episode we're talking about the demise of the junior developer and all that. Um, maybe I'm changing my opinion now. Maybe I think this could be really good for junior devs and really good opportunity once the market's picking up, which it does feel like it does to me. Um, to get those sort of AI native younger junior devs in to then actually teach them all the old school stuff,
Mm.
like the
Yeah.
Billy Basic security and source control and database migrations, CI/CD, and all this kind of good stuff that these vibe coded apps are going to be missing.
Yeah, I mean, this sort of change isn't necessarily new in tech, right? I think when you had like the new hipster languages launching, like Ruby, like, Ruby was just another level of abstraction on top of like lower level languages that, some of the purists were really fiercely protecting that ground. But actually, like, some of these abstractions are really valuable and allow people to, like, the thing that clicked with Ruby for me was like, it allowed me to articulate like what was in my head into code a lot easier. Like, the language just clicked with me. And I feel like maybe some of the approaches to vibe coding, like some of the new IDEs that are popping up, like, that to me is creating that moment for some people where they're like, oh, I understand that I can now actually get my thoughts down into something tangible. And I think that's really powerful, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw it in the 90s with business users using Microsoft Access and stuff.
Hmm.
I worked at a company, sort of part time, like a sort of work experience type gig, and they had everything built on MS Access, and it was terrifying thinking that they'd just let me have free reign on it, like
Yeah.
adding new fields and stuff. Like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing,
Yeah.
and they didn't either. But it didn't matter because they didn't know what they didn't know. We took an occasional copy of the Big Daddy database file, and it mostly worked out. But business users have been doing terrifying stuff with software forever.
Yeah.
This is not new, is it? Like,
No.
there's a lot of organizations that I know that there's an Excel file that if it got corrupt, their business would cease to exist. So eh, this is this is normal now. Uh,
Yeah, I guess it's, how do you build in those layers of protection? As you said, like how do you, if you're doing sort of role based permissions in an app, or if you're doing, I know which one you're on about. It was the one that is like a sign up page, and the sign up form responded with all the signed up users in the response or something like that,
yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah,
yeah, that was it, yeah. And it's
it's
terribly
like,
easy to do that. Yeah,
and it's like, okay, but if you don't know what you're looking for, as you said, like how do you know that's an exploit? How do you know that's an issue? And how do you protect yourself? Like, I wonder if there's going to be a new level of like, like how you'd pay an accessibility consultancy to do your WCAG testing, like, or, all that sort of stuff. I wonder if there's going to be a new level of like consultancies, like, we'll battle test your vibe coded app and figure out what is missing and help patch those problems. Like, I wonder if there's like another layer of like security consultancy that'll kick in.
yeah, 100%. And I think this this graphic here sort of rings true. It's like it's this whole beginner curve, right? So like
Mm,
it's it you don't know enough to know that you don't know anything at all.
mm.
Uh, and this is where vibe code is going to be happily coding. And there's this frustrating middle bit, isn't there? Which, yeah, I think I think
Yeah.
I think there's a big opportunity here for consultants, software consultancies, and I think just the world. I think it's a good thing for the world in general. I think these beginners here
Mm.
that could be the next wave of proper software engineers. Um, it could be their gateway drug in, couldn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think in reality, instead of the sort of U-shaped curve, though, it's like a snake that's constantly going like that, because ultimately, the constant cycle of like when you're programming, like, I get it, I don't get it. Oh my God, this is so frustrating. Oh, this is amazing. Like, that whole roller coaster of emotions happens all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
And then as new tech comes out, it happens again, doesn't it?
yeah, and I think in that dip of the graphic you just showed, I think that's where the consultancy niche, I think, will kick in, where they go, okay, you've got this far, we'll pick it up from here, we'll take it to the next step, and then I think maybe the person will take it back, under their control and start to chip away at it again, and then they'll sort of find themselves in a position that they don't know what it's done completely, and you have to sort of get rescued a little bit.
Yeah, that's it. I think in terms of like a process, though, I think taking it's happened a few times where I've looked at some vibe coding stuff. It's sort of taking that and almost like extracting the good bits out. Like what are the good flows here? What are the bits that make sense? What have you validated with users? And then almost going backwards into like a little spec, like very rudimentary, like just a list of steps, and then sort of rebuilding those in a way that makes sense without throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Because there'll be stuff and decisions and um, little bits of UX that are actually accidentally good within
Mm.
within the thing that they've built.
Yeah,
Because if they've showed it to other people and they've gone, "I would buy this," that is enough validation to start thinking about building it properly. And
yeah.
you don't want to just throw all that away necessarily. Um,
I guess the challenge there though is, how do you communicate the gap? So like, I've built something, people say they like it, they'll give me money for it. Like, where is the, like, why would that person then be like, well, I'm going to get this ready for production? Like, I think they'll just be like, it's ready.
yeah.
Like, what creates that sort of awareness of that gap?
Is it, are you building a lemon stand or a shopping center? Like how many, it's like, it depends on what it is, how many people it needs to scale to, how secure it needs to be. I mean, obviously there's a rudimentary level of security that everything should have, right? But it's really tricky, especially in a sort of increasingly difficult economic world. I think we are going to see a lot of businesses built on vibes that are going to spectacularly fail. And I don't know how cyber insurance is going to work in this sort of world. Um, not
Well,
really.
I think it's just well, yeah, it won't work. I think will it? Like I think ultimately, like the onus is still on the creator to be responsible for the actions of the app that they're building. Like I think the sort of power dynamic doesn't shift just because it's accessible to create these things doesn't mean that you're devoid of any sort of responsibility.
I don't feel like I don't feel like in a lot of these tools the gravity of the problem is made clear. It doesn't say, in ChatGPT, it's like some answers might be wrong and all that kind of stuff. You go V0, it's like, here's your fucking app, deploy it now. Press
Yeah.
the button and it's in production.
No, no, the asterisk at the bottom is like, you might accidentally disclose all of your data.
Yeah,
um,
maybe the warnings
yeah,
are in there, but it's not like don't feel the gravity of it because it's so
yeah,
easy to like go from that POC.
yeah. I do think though you're starting to see in a lot of these tools, you're starting to see tried and tested techniques surfacing through different, like slightly different UX. So like you might have pipelines that are running where it's doing the builds, it's doing maybe some linting, security scanning. Like maybe we'll start to see some of these pipelines maturing as part of the sort of continuous deployment of these apps where I'll be like, actually, oh, we've actually noticed, I guess some of the stuff that GitHub's had for years, like we've noticed that you've got secrets hard coded in your source control, and that's probably not great, and things like that that teach people as they go some of these sort of tried and tested techniques.
Yeah, definitely. And the sensible defaults will be stuff that we've not even imagined. But the there's a really good startup called Neon. I don't know if you've used them before, but they're basically they've built a very specialized version of Postgres. And I think they got bought by Databricks, but that's by the by. But every time you branch in your code, the database branches, and
I've heard about that. Yeah.
and you can go back in time and you can merge and you're like, oh, I wish we had this years ago. But
Yeah.
now vibe coders are just using it accidentally and it's saving their bacon because they can just go, oh, I've completely hosed the database. It doesn't matter. I click this button and it comes back again.
Yeah.
Wow. But what if that
Yeah.
button wasn't there? But yeah, no, I think the tooling's getting there.
Mm.
It's just very fly by the seat of your pants sort of feeling I'm getting at the moment.
Yeah, even that though, like it's you sort of like you're you're providing convenience to get yourself out of a pickle as the developer, but I think it's not teaching you the fundamentals of like data integrity, consistency, like maybe for that 5 minutes when the data was in the wrong shape, that people made some data and then you deleted that by reverting, and like all these weird like edge conditions that you're probably not aware that you're creating through how you're managing your app. It's back
Yeah.
to those fundamentals, isn't it?
Which absolutely doesn't matter if it's just you using the app, but as soon as you have more than a few users, uh,
Mm,
it's suddenly extremely important. Which is why I keep thinking that this is only going to be a good thing for software engineers because we've got all these people sort of trying out, experimenting to find product market fit, and then presumably when they have their first major issue, they will then start reaching out to experts. You'd hope. Um,
mm.
But is that then too late to fix it? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I guess it's like like when Photoshop was first released and everyone thought they could be a designer, and then they realized that everyone just produced really, really bad graphics. Could be that, yeah. But it's not. It's not like a gatekeeper thing, though, is it? It's like it's important that people are like empowered to really explore, and like I think it's amazing to see people who would never have dreamt of trying to code anything in their lives, like just going at like this sort of stuff. I love to see that accessibility of the industry and how it like brings people into that level of curiosity around how things work. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be ultimately a good thing with some casualties along the way. I think one of the things I can see happening early next year is our first enterprise customers who have been vibing internally. Um, Someone's been vibing internally, hooking up some legacy system to a vibe coded thing and it going horribly wrong. I think I can already see the headlines. I think I'm
Yeah.
surprised it hasn't happened as publicly. Maybe it already has. But you can see
Yeah.
that being an interesting way. And I think PII is going to get sloshed everywhere, isn't it?
Especially if you look at like some of the AI agent stuff where people are unknowingly exposing like or giving permission to some of these agents to expose that to services and things that you wouldn't want, like, having it all like mixed together in this ecosystem where your sort of personal data is also potentially going to get shared in a way you wouldn't like it to. I think that's a new level of sort of attack vector that we're not ready for yet. And I think there's a lot of real big security holes through this sort of trusted system that I'm working with in my chat GPT, and I'm trusting everything that's in there. And before you know it, some of that data can make its way into places that you don't want it to.
Yeah, I think the AI driven browsers concern me, even though, I did write one of those for a client once, but at least.
Well, you're probably quite in a position to probably comment on that, then, aren't you? I'd say.
Yeah, I did actually make a browser with an LLM in it. But yeah, I think the fact that it's got access to the entire context of everything and it's visible on the screen is problematic, to say the least, because, I mean, IT security departments must be having absolute kittens because it looks like Chrome on the network. You can log into your email, and now private emails that should definitely not be leaving your network are going into an LLM and go, oh, it's fine. We'll just send it to America. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I think I can see why people are getting upset.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's going to be many more casualties to come with that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think all we can do as sort of responsible practitioners is just sort of bang the drum of like, there is a big gap between that POC and the production ready version, and having a good risk register. I needed to crowbar that in there. That's part of the bingo card now for the podcast, I think.
There's not a day that goes by you don't think about risk register, is there?
Single day. I know that I need it to know what to avoid.
It's your to-do list.
Basically. I think there's we're trading speed for security, aren't we, really? Like, we've very quickly created a thing. We can validate that with users, but you should be encouraging people to not put real data into that until you've had somebody check it over. So I think like pen testing firms, software engineers, sensible people that can think about AI ethics, I think they're going to become in high demand next year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm quite excited to see how it shapes up. So yeah, thanks for running me through that. It's been a good chat.
No worries. Yeah, thanks for chatting through, and I'll see you on the next one.
Don't forget to hit subscribe and have a look through past episodes. And we'll see you next time. Thanks. See you.